Welcome to Keeping Your Together in a Stressed World with Michelle Post and Scott Grossberg. Each week, we explore down and dirty ways to stop awfulizing, catastrophizing, going down the rabbit hole, and moving through all the craziness that is happening right now. We're here to create a community of like-minded people as we give you tips, tricks, and techniques for keeping sane in an unhinged world. And now, here are your hosts, Michelle Post and Scott Grossberg. Greetings, everyone. Nice to see you. My name is Scott Grossberg, and I'm here with my co-host, Michelle.
Hello.
All of you are muted, with the exception of Michelle, obviously. And you will see me periodically looking down because I'm running the participant board and admitting folks as they come on, at least from the visual standpoint. So if I'm not looking directly at you, that is why. And with that, good afternoon. For those of you on the phone who I cannot see, greetings as well. Michelle, nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too, Scott.
Michelle's across the country in Florida at the moment. I'm here in California. By way of quick introduction, my name is Scott Grossberg, and I'm one of the co-hosts of the show, as we've just said. I am a certified life coach, hypnotherapist, Ho'oponopono practitioner, former trial attorney of 3 decades, business owner, and author, among other things that we may get into today. I don't know. And with that, Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself for those who are new to this?
Sure. Hi, welcome everybody. I am Michelle Post. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in California, and I do national and international coaching on business and relationships and some speaking engagements to train particularly other healthcare and mental health care workers. But Scott and I got this started several weeks ago in response to
So you've lost track of time.
Virus. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's been a month.
Yeah.
Right? More than a month. Yes. Actually, I went for a car ride this weekend for the first time in a long time. And I thought, ooh, this is what the outside looks like. If you can relate to that. But Scott and I got this started, in March with the idea of, hearing some of our clients and what they were going through to deal with anxiety and the changes in society and feeling a little socially distanced when what we want is physical distancing and social interaction. And in preparation for a retreat that we have just officially announced, it will be July 18th to 19th online, and it will be called Getting Your Together. Good cue. Getting Your Beep Together in one weekend. We'll be talking about everything from good mental health practices, physical space, anxiety management. So
yeah, and I've got to add what's interesting is Michelle and I actually, as she was saying, did that before any of this stay at home, stay safe stuff, craziness happened. And it's now very interesting that it's timing out with what we collectively believe is going to be the recovery phase of all this. And so it's going to be actually very exciting as we continue to morph content and add things to it. So we'll keep you posted on it as we're going in. So logistically, if you don't mind, because then I'm going to let Michelle do a lot of talking today.
Yay.
Logistically, housekeeping wise, you're all on mute. If you need something, do me a favor, put it in the chat room. I am wearing my glasses today, so I will be able to read the chat room. Usually it is Michelle who is reading it, and it's been too many days. I've gotten over, it's just I'm going to wear glasses when I do these.
That's right.
If you put a question in the chat room, I will be able to field that. Michelle will certainly be able to field that. If you want to ask questions at the end, we generally stick around and answer some Q&A at the end if you need any of that. If you need to turn the video on or off, you can do that on your end. I won't be babysitting your video aspect of this, so from the waist up, be polite. And with that, usually, Michelle, you and I generally start off these with kind of a discussion of what we've done with clients over the past week. So how about you start? What kind of trends or themes have you been seeing?
Oh, Scott, because we have such a special guest today, I didn't prepare anything in particular, but I will talk to you about something, um, the Japanese art of tree therapy, which I learned about probably a couple years ago. It's this idea that we have nature deprivation. And if you don't have a backyard or a little potted plant at home and can get one, great. But even if you can just right now safely get outside and take a nice drive somewhere where there are trees, or if you can walk somewhere in your neighborhood and just like stand near a tree, the Japanese believe that there's communication that happens between the trees, including there was a book called The Secret Life of Trees, if you'd like to read about this, which is how trees communicate with each other to keep each other alive and how connected they really are. But in the Japanese art of tree therapy, they believe that there are properties, not only the nice, beautiful, new, fresh oxygen produced by trees, but there's this actual release of neurochemicals in the air that helps people's mood improve. So if you've been a little nature deprived lately, I would highly recommend, if you're in the Los Angeles area, drive up the drive somewhere a good half hour or 45 minutes that normally would take you 5 hours, and park somewhere where there's no crowd and just get a nice view and be somewhere in nature. That would be my recommendation for the week.
Now, here is why Michelle and I, in my humble opinion, work so well together. I love that you just did that, because of all the things that I was going to talk about. So some of you may know, I wrote this book called The Most Magical Secret. Mm-hmm. And in it, I make a big deal about walking meditations. Mm-hmm. And I have now gone back to doing them. It's warm here in Southern California. And we just moved, I guess we didn't just move. Months ago, we moved, and I'm making my little walking meditation route. And I, Michelle, have gone back to, I've got 3 in particular trees that I now, as I'm walking, stop, reach out, and touch, and say thank you to them, and get in communion with them, for lack of a better way to put it. So this is what Michelle and I usually do, by the way.
So strange.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a sneak behind the curtain. Every Thursday we debrief, and then we plan for the following week. Mm-hmm. And we don't discuss a lot of this stuff, because it turns out this is what happens. I'm here getting ready to tell you about walking meditations and touching trees, and Michelle's telling you about tree energy. So
it's very interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah. Mind-body connection. Carl Jung, collective unconscious. Who knows? Name it what you want.
I love serendipity myself, but with coaching clients, because I just started a new round of my email coaching on May 1st, it's very interesting how some of my coaching clients have stopped prioritizing. It's almost like people are in a waiting pattern, a holding pattern. And that's one of the biggest things I want to pass on to you, that I've been holding them accountable for through email. If you don't have an accountability buddy, get one. Because in this time, in this age that we live in, it's too easy to make excuses and let the boundary lines shift for yourself. So put it out there. That was actually one of the reasons that I originally put together the Most Magical Secret Facebook group, was for accountability. Mm-hmm. You can put your goals on there, and I or someone else in the group will hold you accountable for it. Give us something you're doing, give us a deadline for it, and we'll hold you accountable. And if you don't have that, then get a friend, get somebody who will touch in with you. I've got some friends who have workout buddies now. They work out at home, right? And they work out together to make sure that they're staying fit and they're staying in place. So that's one of the biggest things that I'm starting to notice with folks, is that we're drawing these lines in the sand and they keep shifting.
Yes.
And I'm asking you, don't let the lines shift. Continue to hold yourself accountable and have folks that will help support you in that.
Yay. Well, next week, for those of you that haven't thought we've gotten a little off the beaten path with our feng shui guest and our tarot guest. We are going to have a special guest, Daniel Giammario. He's the creator of Shamanic Astrology Paradigm. I know it's a little odd, but if you've ever heard of the app called The Pattern, he's actually the brain power behind that, and will be talking to us about current things going on that you might be able to use in your day-to-day to deal with what we're going through. But I am excited to introduce to you our surprise, wonderful guest, my very favorite co-presenter, Mr. Scott Grossberg. He's going to be our guest for today. And I hope that you are here because you figured that out, or he told you and invited you. And what I would like to do is kind of interview Scott a little bit so you get to know him a little more deeply. Like, for instance, Scott, you mentioned you've been a trial lawyer for 30 years, and I know you. And I know you are generally quite a unique male in that you are feeling-based, you are emotional, you are tender-hearted. And I was wondering how you cope with Americans' version of masculinity in all of that. How do you deal with that
my
concept?
goodness. By the way, we have not planned any of these questions.
He told me not to.
We should have.
How do you deal with matching up with Americans' version of what a man is when you strike out to be a very different person in that, yet you were a successful trial lawyer for 30 years.
Yeah, keep in mind that I'm one of those, I'm going to answer this a very long way. Okay. I don't believe that what you do defines who you are. Let's start with that. And beautiful. Unfortunately, it's not just men. I'm going to go across the board. I think that we as a society have roles that we think we need to play, and I fell right into them. I'll tell you that right now. I've joked before, I was a trial lawyer for 3 decades and I did not lose my soul. And I have to continually step out of the drama triangle so that when I see what's going on with American jurisprudence and lawyers and judges, I have to take a step back and say, you know what? That's not my problem to fix. There are lots of problems with it. It is a legal system, not a justice system. And so because of that, I stepped away from it and decided to do what I consider to be something of help. While I was in active litigation with some very high profile cases, very aggressive predator personalities, again, irrespective of whether it was masculine or female, they were playing roles. And unfortunately, we in America buy into those roles. You're seeing it in politics now. Yeah. I don't deal well with that. And so I have to continually fight the urge to bully those who bully others. I continually get into the mode of, I'm here to help you, to save you. I don't like people to suffer. And so as a result of that, I tend to want to swoop in and fix things. And it has been one of my goals this year, by the way, to learn the concept of permission, and the fact that all of you on this call and who I can see right now, you're here and you haven't given me permission to fix anything. And so I'm learning, in part from Michelle, to hold sacred space for folks, to allow them to say stuff without fixing it unless they ask me to help fix it, if that makes any sense, which is, yes, again, I think answering the question, what I see as American masculinity is at least the world that I came from, very aggressive, very bullying. We are now people have now adopted, it's an old concept, by the way, but it's that if something goes wrong, they deny it, then they accuse the person who's accused them of something of being the perpetrator, then they swap roles, and then the victim becomes the aggressor, and the person who's been accused becomes the new moral high ground. Okay, that's not a new concept, folks. This has been around since the 60s and 70s, and it's now being reinvented. And unfortunately, it works. And I'm just not that guy, and that's why you'll never see me in politics. It's not me.
But if you were to say, like, so let's let's take male, female out of the, by the way, Earl totally agrees with you. He's like, ugh. But let's say we take male, female out of the picture. When we encounter aggression during this time, what would you say is a good coping skill for dealing with someone else's aggression?
Is it now I've got to ask, here's the lawyer
Yeah.
part of me. Is it aggression directed at me, or is it aggression directed at somebody else and I'm there watching it?
Two-part question. Is
This
there
is
a
the
different
lawyer in
answer
me.
for
This is
each?
the lawyer in me. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, I think probably the most common thing is that we're witnessing aggression elsewhere. Maybe now that we're a little more quarantined, we're not dealing with it quite so directly at us, but we definitely see it on TV. We see it in the world. I saw it when I was driving the other day, just people driving aggressively. How do you cope with aggression when it's aimed at other people and you're witnessing it?
So I'm going to give you a two-part answer to that as well.
Okay.
If it is a loved one or a dear friend, then I'll be your knight in shining armor. Let's
Okay.
just put it that way. Because I'm finding that most people don't know how to set those boundaries that we were chatting about before. And I'm urging all of you, one of the life lessons that I work with folks is helping people not be doormats anymore. Now, there's elegance that you can bring to that. And I will be frank with all of you. I have had moments of not being very elegant and getting, I bully those who bully others. And I think I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I'm on a journey like the rest of you. I'm slowly working my way through I did judo when I was younger, and I'm getting to how about we just bend a little and let them do their thing, unless, and I learned this from some folks at Cirque du Soleil, by the way, unless I think it's malicious. Because what I'm starting to see, and I think, Daryl, this kind of goes to what you were saying as far as vibration. I think a lot of people don't know better. I think a lot of people are seeing things that they're modeling, which is different than malicious. If I think it's malicious, then you got to deal with me, and it won't be pretty. And I'm perfectly fine being the knight in shining armor that says, you know what, you need to go. Or to put it another way, and I've told this to clients, if I'm a doctor, I'm your doctor, and I walk in and I say, here's the x-ray, you have cancer. You have all these options. What do you want to do? And I will be willing to bet most of you on this call will at some point say, cut it out. Make it go away, right? That's me. I'm the guy that would make it go away if it was a loved one. If it's somebody else, I'm gradually learning, Michelle. I'm gradually learning that some people need that vibration and need that as part of their journey. It pains me because I don't like to see people suffer. But it's also, some of this is not, I haven't been invited in.
So, earlier you were talking about nature walks, but I also know that you love labyrinths, and you're building a little one in your backyard.
30 feet in diameter. I don't know how little it's becoming.
Okay, maybe not so little. But how would you describe the power of the labyrinth for you as an anxiety, or even a walking meditation for you as an anxiety coping skill?
Wow. I'm going to actually tie your question in with actually your first question to me, because labyrinths are notoriously or famously used in men's therapy circles as a representation of the male journey inward. And real quickly, so that for those of you who don't know, a labyrinth is not a maze. A maze has twists and turns and dead ends. A labyrinth originally has one way in and one way out, and there's no minotaur in it. Although periodically one of my dogs thinks that she's a minotaur in the middle of it. But it's a journey in and it's a journey out. It's a very reflective thing. So for me, it's much like a nature walk. Frankly, it's much like objects of affection. Everything to me, in one way or another, is a coping mechanism, because this is all a program. Everything we're experiencing is a program. And these are all tools and techniques to get you out of the bugs that exist in the programming that you have. So to put it another way, a labyrinth is a very contained, forced way of being contemplative. My particular labyrinth is directed to the 4 cardinal points, and there are actual standing stones at each one of them with an entrance, and there's an arpachetta that you can make offerings to if that's your thing before you go in. And there's a fireplace. It's not a fireplace, it's a kiln actually. Also sitting there if you want to take a wish and burn that and release the energy up. There are all these different elements to it depending on what I'm feeling at the time, all grounded in shamanism and grounded in nature and earth and that kind of vibration.
Mm-hmm. When I go to Sedona, I have certain labyrinths that I love to visit, but I'm wondering if in your book, The Most Magical Secret, you recommend doing a daily meditation walk once the labyrinth is built, or in general, if you have labyrinth access, like if you're in Southern California, I know there's one in Glendale at the Forest Lawn. You can look up labyrinth.com. How often would you recommend people do that kind of meditative walk?
Here's the cool part about at least my approach to a lot of this, and that is do what feels right for you. You know, I highly recommend being energetic one way or another every single day. I don't walk every day depending on what I've got going on, but I am doing now in light of our last speaker, she actually suggested it to me months ago. I'm now doing the 5 Tibetan rites every single day. I am doing Wim Hof breathing every single day. I'm doing Qigong every single day. So there's an element of that. When I'm doing my walk, I'm actually doing dragon tiger medicine Qigong, that I've developed a way of doing that while you walk, rather than doing, you know, a 30-minute walk and then 20 minutes of Qigong. I've combined them. I like to make things happen. We in the Western mind have this monkey mind that's going on constantly. And so I'm developing things. One of the things we'll talk about today, as a matter of fact, I'm developing things that help calm that monkey mind, because we here in America, at least, are routinely going, and we tend to identify with what we are doing and where we're going rather than where we are.
So speaking of the monkey mind, before quarantine, what was your most anxiety-provoking recent change, and how did you cope with it?
Probably the move and decluttering in the process. And it wasn't quite the move. And by the way, Daryl, I think I just saw your new home, yeah? Yeah, congratulations.
Yay, Daryl.
And I actually do follow all of you folks back. Those of you that are part of either my friend list or the Most Magical Secret private group, I do follow you and make connections. A beautiful home, by the way, Daryl. So we downsized and moved to a more suburban area that has lots of trees and nature, and my ability to put the labyrinth in the back. In moving and downsizing, then you necessarily have to declutter. And I joked about it last session. I created a plastic box, something that felt good to me, something that I could work out of. And all of my important, if I had to go to a deserted island, stuff went in there. So I've got some books that are in there that mean a lot to me. The Most Magical Secret is one of them. I actually read and do my own book. I've got A Course in Miracles in there. I've got, things, I've got decks of cards, things that if everything happened, and it did, if everything happened, what would I need to live with? And the reality is what happened is that meant I had to get rid of things. And that's probably the most stressful, very emotional. I did the whole KonMari. Is it pronounced Hoogie?
Huga.
Huga. I did the whole, does it spark joy? I'm continuing to do that. We do have a storage unit, and we're pulling things out of it and getting rid of it. And it has been unbelievably emotional, freeing, but oh my goodness.
It's emotionally
because
freeing.
I am gradually moving from hoarding stuff to hoarding experiences, and letting that bad programming go has been really stressful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I know you and your brain is constantly moving. And before quarantine, you were out in the world moving and shaking and, you know, making connections and being creative and that kind of thing. If you could give a piece of advice to somebody who's struggling with the staying at home piece and that shutting down of not as much contact or not as much access to being out in the world and being creative, what's worked for you?
Well, let's start with the understanding. I think most of the people who would even listen to our podcast are empathic and creative. At some level, they are, which means all of us were built for this, right? You know, that essentially I'm an introvert who has forced himself to be an extrovert. And I've done that through the entertainment industry, and, you know, acting and improv and learning screenwriting, and then my computer stuff and learning literally to program. And other than missing what day it is, because that's a different thing, other than figuring out what day it is, I'm good with all this. I miss the physical connection and that energetic exchange. On the other hand, what a wonderful time for folks to get back in touch with themselves and understand what gratitude is. You know, every one of us who is listening to this, I love the Pink song where she has the line, "I can think of 1,000 places much worse than this." And when you're going and doing constantly, you tend to forget how blessed we are and how loved we are. There's someone who loves you. There are things that you care about. There are things that you can create. And so my biggest advice for folks is listen to yourself. Take the time, take that pause, and have a large amount of freaking gratitude. You know, it's beautiful. Be passionate, be gracious, be elegant, and learn what grace is. There's a life lesson for you.
Well, I think we've timed this really well because I can see people on the screen for those of you that can't see everyone on the screen or you listen to the podcast afterwards. And I know that one of our regular attendees, Miss Linda, was out in the world driving around, and she arrived here stable and seated for the perfect moment, which is that I asked Scott to work on a meditation for you that will also be downloaded separately from the whole podcast. And Scott, I would like to invite you to share that meditation with us. And, you know, it's great to see that people are able to maybe enjoy it and not be driving.
Yeah, so yes, thank you. Quick bit of history of what we're about to do. I created a while ago something called the Discovery Meditation. And you can see it on my website, thinkingmagically.com. It's free. You can get on there and listen to it. And it's something that I use consistently. In the process of everything that's been happening, I decided, so we had the Discovery Meditation. I decided to come up with something called the Recovery Meditation. And then I decided we're not quite there yet. I will still give you the Recovery Meditation, but we're not quite there yet. And as a result of that, I did my own thing. Part of it up at the Labyrinth, part of it the way I happen to do meditation. And I shared with Michelle some of the actual places that I've been that I recall. And I won't belabor the point, other than at some point, those of you, I wrote a book a long time ago called In Search of the High King. And it was a traveler's guide to the UK. And I actually went to the UK 3 times and went to every site associated with King Arthur and associated with a lot of the legends, and spoke to the locals. It wasn't book learning, it was speaking to the folks who were actually there and living on the land. And one of my all-time favorite places is Tintagel. among others. And if you haven't seen it, go look up Tintagels, Tintagel. It's got some other names, and you can walk it now. And it is one of the most breathtaking places in Cornwall you will ever be. And that then led to what we're about to do that I now call the Rise Up and Be Restored guided meditation.
Oh.
So we've got discovery, now we're at Rise Up and Be Restored, and that will then move into the recovery meditation. And as Daryl knows, that ultimately led to the Shunyata code and some overlap with some of the things that Daryl has done. And Daryl, I still owe you a call. I have not forgotten. And so a lot of it, by the way, for those of you in the healthcare industry, and we may go a little bit over just because I'm talking. If you need to get off, I appreciate it. If you need to stay longer and can stay longer, great. But this is all being recorded, and you'll get the download. It deals a lot with the subjective units of distress scale, SUDS, and figuring out where you are as far as distress, and then saying, okay, here's the level that I'm at, but where do I want to be? And we don't spend, a lot of us who, I learned it with hypnotherapy, a lot of us say, okay, I'm at a 5, let's get it down, rather than saying, I'm at a 5, cool, but what does 0 actually look like? And focusing on that. We're going to focus on 0 today. And for those of you who went through the Shunyata code, this is not that. This is an actual guided meditation. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, presuming you're not driving or operating heavy machinery, to get comfortable, get relaxed, feel free to close your eyes, listening only to me. And we're going to get centered at the beginning. And it starts with literally just gently close your eyes. And then I want you to breathe in deeply through your nose, listening only to me, letting all the sounds just be sounds. Let my voice become a sound. There's nothing you need to do. When you breathe out through your mouth. So in through your nose, out through your mouth, floating, flying if that's good for you, drifting. Be centered for a minute. Now I want you to imagine that you're on an ocean beach. And I want you to notice the shoreline and the water all to yourself. There's nobody there. And I want you to notice the sounds of the gulls, the pound of the surf. Notice the smell of the ocean. And now bring your attention to the waves. Notice their rhythm. Notice the rhythm of the waves, how the waves go in and out, rise and fall. And I want you to time your breathing now to the rise and fall of the waves. As a wave starts to rise, breathe in fully through your nose. And as the wave crests, hold your breath for a moment and feel the full power of that ocean within you. And as the wave starts to fall, begin to breathe out through your mouth as you notice the wave crashing on the sand. Hold the out breath as you watch the water from the wave settle and soak into the sand. Notice another wave starting to build and make its way toward you as you breathe in fully. Now hold your breath for a moment as that wave crests. And then as the wave crashes to the beach, let your breath exhale fully through your mouth. When you've exhaled, hold your breath and watch the water soak into the beach. We're going to do this one more time. Notice a wave starting to build, make its way as you breathe in fully. Hold your breath as the wave crests, and then as the wave crashes to the beach, let your breath exhale fully through your mouth. When you've exhaled, hold your breath and watch the water soak into the beach. Now return to your normal breathing, and I want you to give thanks to the ocean. Gratitude is very important. Give thanks to the ocean and turn away. And as you turn away, you notice that there's a path leading up to some cliffs that overlook the very beach you've just been standing on. Make your way up the path, keeping your breathing rhythmic and deep. Listen to the sounds. Notice the smells. Feel your feet and your legs as they make their way up the paths and notice how the earth supports you. Once you're at the top of the cliff, take a moment and gaze out. You can see 360 degrees around you. It is clear, it is bright, the sun is shining down on you, and you can feel its warmth. And I want you to bask in this moment, savor it. Now bring your attention and notice yourself on the cliff. You might be standing, you might be sitting, you might be lying down. Take a moment and watch yourself get comfortable in this new place. Bring your attention to the top of your head and notice that there's a white light that is emanating from the very center of the universe. The white light is pouring down from the heavens and into the top of your head. Notice as it makes its way down and through your body, and then out each place where your body is making contact with the earth. The white light is flowing through you down to the very center of the earth. You're a conduit. Now notice the flow of white light coming up from the center of the earth and up through each part of you that is making contact with that earth. This new white light is making its way up and through your body and out the top of your head as it flows out and into the center of the universe. Now look out and notice that there's an energy field of white light that flows all around you. It is in front of you, behind you, and to the sides. It is a literal ocean of white light. And now bring all that white light from above, below, and around you, all in at one time as you breathe into your heart center. And take a moment and notice how this feels. And now you're going to repeat the following words to yourself. Light above me. Light below me. Light around me. Light within me. Today, I promise that my intent is clear. Today, I choose that my feelings are clear. Today, I declare that my space is clear. Today, I know that my path is clear. Today, I am at the center of all peace. Today, I am safe and loved. Now bring your attention back to the sounds of the ocean below you and the gulls flying above you. Notice any slight breeze that might be playing on your face and your hands. And notice again how the earth is supporting you. Notice the salty air. Notice the sun as it bestows its warmth on you. It's as if the universe is now whispering to you. A tiny little voice is saying, you are here. You are enough. Your power is turned on. You are loved. Hear my voice. You stand in the light. You are unstoppable. Notice that atop the cliff and seeing the ocean stretch out before you, that you are part of a grand adventure. You are meant to be here. You were created to be here. At the center of all peace, you know that everything happens for a reason. And now bring your attention to your heart and go within. And notice that special place within you where you are centered. This is the place where you are fearless. This is the place where danger fades away. This is the place of rebirth. As you breathe in and out, notice that there is a higher power supporting you. Repeat these words to yourself. I am here to learn some amazing lessons. I give myself permission to feel relief and well-being. I am at peace. I give myself permission to be at peace. I feel loved. I give love. I will from this day forward show my love. I will find a home in the deepest place within my heart. Now bring your attention to your breathing once again. The in and out, in and out, in and out. Can you realize that this is the time for giving back and not taking? Can you modify your thinking so that you're making positive, powerful, and profound choices? Can you give yourself permission to deeply feel like never before? From this day forward, know that you are one with everything. From this day forward, know that you are one with everyone. Know that you were created to be the representation of goodness in the world. Know that you were created to be the ideal for all that is sacred. Keeping your eyes closed, start bringing your attention back to the here and now. And now repeat these words to yourself. May I be happy. May I be loved. May I be safe. May I live a life of ease. It is done. And slowly bring your attention back to the here and now. And when you're ready to do so, open your eyes and welcome back. How was that? We okay?
Wow. You know, we started off this talk, Scott, by I was saying, you know, if you've been nature deprived, like get outside. But I think anybody that listens to that meditation, if they're at all visual, they just got outside. So I see nods of the head. So I thank you for creating that for us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
That to us. And I really look forward to that being a separate download for people where they can just, you know, listen to it regularly and practice that. Little bit of my nerd card showing. I've been rewatching Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh, there you go.
And I was totally space traveling. So not only was I here on Earth during that, but I had this space travel experience. So being mindful of the time, I have at least one more question for you.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for that meditation.
My pleasure.
It was wonderful. Okay, one more question.
One more question.
How do you want to be remembered?
Oh my goodness. You stole that.
Oh wait, but Linda just said, ask him what he asked James. How do you want to be remembered? So see, yeah. Great minds think alike.
As someone who was here. I continue to work on that, as just being here. Loving passionately, creating passionately. Yeah.
Wow. I am reminded of one of my favorite poems.
In fact, I will share this with you.
Yes.
On one of my objects of affection.
I am here.
I am here. Yeah.
There's one of my favorite poems. I think it's by Javon. It says, "We're born into the world like a blank canvas, and each person that we meet picks up the brush and makes a mark on our surface. And that's how we develop. But sooner or later, we have to pick up the brush and finish it ourselves. For only we know if we are just another painting or a masterpiece."
Oh, what a great, I love that.
Yeah. And I personally, I think I probably speak for everybody on the call, but I personally want to thank you for being here and for being one of the people, along with many of you on this call, that I've gotten to know over time, thank you for picking up the brush and making marks on my surface, because I would be a different person if you weren't in my life.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel that, by the way, with all of us. I've been very gratified that the Most Magical Secret Facebook group has grown so much. I mean, yes, there's the personal pages, but that group, there's a lot of friends and family and loved ones in there, and I really, it's been very gratifying. So thank you as well for particularly Michelle, for painting in my life.
You have lots of great support on the chat tonight. Thanks, Scott. Great meditation. I'm so glad you're here, Scott.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. From box breathing the first week, I keep growing and learning. Thank you. Me too, Linda. So what is the name? Oh, the name of the poem, I believe, is Jevan, Jevan. It's called The
It's marvelous.
Yeah.
Absolutely marvelous.
So
we'll have to post that.
It's really nice seeing all of you make marks on your surface and become your own unique masterpiece. So, oh, the name of the tree book is The Secret Life of Trees. If you want to read that, it's about how trees communicate and keep each other alive, and they share resources like sun and water and soil naturally, rather than try to kill each other out. And wouldn't that be nice if we humans could do that a little?
Yeah, I got it. Just as a quick aside, having just moved, normally when you move into a new home, they landscape the front yard, and the backyard is a complete masterpiece waiting to happen. And I think we've made our contractor completely crazy, because I have forbid him from killing any trees that were in the front yard that he wanted to move around. So we now have trees that have been replanted and cared and loved for. And they're living, breathing, loving things. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So any final words for us, Scott, before we make our last announcements? I don't see additional questions for you in the chat box, but I thought I'd give you a final word.
I'm really serious about something that I said earlier, and that is, it's all programming. It's all the ability to understand when and if, then and if then, when then, and to take the time. We've got plenty of time right now. Take the time and find out, what is your programming doing? Are you, if blank, then blank. So Michelle did it with me. If someone's being bullied, and I then do this. Every one of you does that. And there's something that isn't happening in each of our lives that will continue to happen as long as you're alive, because that's why we're here. You will continue to have obstacles. The question is, why are you having them? And the best way to do that is to go through and ask, what is my programming? If this happens, then I do this. When something happens, then I do this. And then the deeper investigation, the deeper discovery is, what are your ifs and what are your whens? Because those are two different things. Ifs are you projecting, whens are you anticipating, and it will change the way you program. You are, I joke about it, and I will leave you with this. Maybe we can have a deeper discussion at some point, but I've always joked that Inception, the movies, the Inception and the Matrix are documentaries. And there's a reason that I say that. Westworld is a documentary. And when you look at the way they do these programmings for artificial intelligence now, it's something we can all learn from. And that's what I've done with these meditations, by the way.
Beautiful. I cannot thank you enough. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to get my chance to interview you, of all the amazing guests that we have on.
Thank you.
And I think, I waited too long. This was really good. Or maybe I waited just the right amount of time because it was perfect. And I see other people shaking their heads. So thank you, Scott, for letting you be the featured speaker today. And for those of you that join us every week or listen to our podcast, next week we have a guest, Daniel Mario, who is the creator of Shamanic Astrology Paradigm. And he, it's a little off the beaten path, but if you've heard of the app called The Pattern. His content is the brains behind that information. So we'll be talking about that next week.
Yeah, I mean, we're bringing you so many different types of folks because this is the time to explore and be curious and find that fantasy and find that wonder. You know, I got the sign up here that says "Believe in the magic." Folks, magic is real if you want it to be. And my whole life has kind of been themed around magic. And I'm asking, you know, Michelle and I are asking you, do that too. Let's have fun together.
Yeah. Take what works and leave the rest. That's all we ask. So thank you everybody for being here today.
Thank you guys.
It's just so awesome to see you.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me have the time today. And with that, unless somebody has another question, thank you all for being here and be well.
Yay. Bye everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a great week.
You've reached the end of another episode of Keeping Your Together in a Stressed World with Michelle Post and Scott Grossberg. If you like our show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate our broadcast, and leave a review. The podcast is for general information only and not intended to be legal or mental health advice, nor the formation of a lawyer-client, nor therapist-patient relationship. Stay tuned for our next episode, and thank you for listening.